welcome back to the 49ers First and 10 podcast. 10 minutes of the most up-to-date 49ers news first thing in the morning. I'm your host, Briana McDonald. Joining me is 49ers team reporter Lindsey Polaris. The team is currently on summer break before training camp gets started next month, so Lindsey and I thought this would be the perfect time to break down the roster position by position and bring the faithful up to speed on what's changed during the offseason so that come training camp, you'll be fully in the know. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the quarterback position, what the depth is like behind QB1 Brock Purdy, and that group's outlook for the 2024 season. So, Lindsey, let's start with the latest on Brock Purdy. How has his offseason been, and what's his status like going into this year's training camp?
I'd like to start this off with one word: healthy. Brock Purdy, it has a healthy offseason. It's his first since being named the 49ers starter, and that's so different from this time last year, which is crazy. So much can happen in a year. But, obviously one of the big storylines of the 49ers has just been Brock Purdy's rise and then a season-ending injury at the end of the 2022 season. He was able to rehab this time last year, kind of ramp up during training camp, and he was ready for the regular season of 2023. But much different this time around. He actually got to enjoy a fully healthy offseason, which I think has been really great for his development, because instead of working to regain mobility in his arm, he's able to get in the building, and he was able to go over a full season's worth of tape with Kyle Shanahan, and really just put the fundamentals to work and fine-tune everything based on his performance from last season, which wasn't something he was able to do this time last year. And then head coach Kyle Shanahan said it was really great to just have the leader of the offense really be here and able to participate in everything. Pretty much since the start of the offseason workout phase one, Brock has been around. And I think it never hurts in terms of just building chemistry with the entire offense to have Brock Purdy here and being able to participate in all three phases, as well as mandatory minicamp, and not have any, health challenges holding him back. So I think it's been a really productive offseason for Brock Purdy, and just excited to see the whole team come together in less than 40 days. 40 days, I don't know the exact count, but probably less than 40 days at this point.
Yeah, at this point. And yeah, it's just a pivotal offseason for Brock Purdy as his growth as a player and even a leader of this team. Listen in as quarterback Brock Purdy shares what his offseason has been like.
I mean, last year, obviously, season ended and then immediately get surgery, start rehabbing. So now, we finished the Super Bowl, took some time away, got married, and actually was able to breathe. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. But, it was nice to get away, breathe. And then after that, man, it's like, hungry for it. We got all the way to the end. We're right there and weren't able to finish it. So for me, like I had that taste in my mouth, and then, get back into the gym, start slowly working into it. And then here, in OTAs, getting with Kyle and going over all the games that we played in, every play, and going over situational football and stuff, and taking that and actually going out in the field and running things and repping things and throwing to receivers. So last year I didn't have that. So now that I'm able to attack those kinds of things, I feel like I've gotten better.
But looking at the quarterback room as a whole, there's been quite a few changes from just 1 year ago. In last year's training camp, it was Brock Purdy, Brandon Allen, who's still on the roster, Sam Darnold, and Trey Lance. So, Lindsey, I guess starting from there, bring us up to speed on what's happened with Sam and Trey.
Yeah, so Trey Lance was traded near the end of last year's preseason, was traded for a fourth-round pick, and went to the Dallas Cowboys. And then Sam Darnold, during the offseason, took a new deal with the Minnesota Vikings, and he has the opportunity to be a starter there. So went on to earn that larger contract elsewhere. But yeah, like you mentioned, a totally different makeup to this 2024 group that we have, at least as it stands now.
Yeah, the team typically carries 4 quarterbacks on the roster heading into training camp. One of those depth players are Brandon Allen, who's been here for a season now. Tell us about Brandon and how he's going to continue to serve the team.
Yeah, so if I'm doing the math right, Brandon Allen has 8 years of NFL experience, headed into his 9th season, and like you mentioned, spent the entirety of 2023 with the 49ers. It is very likely that he and Josh Dobbs will be in competition for that backup spot. As far as we know, that has not been named at this point. And then Josh Dobbs is also someone that we need to talk about because he's a new addition. He was signed in the offseason, and he made a ton of national headlines last season because he split time with the Arizona Cardinals as well as the Minnesota Vikings and had the most starts of his career in 2023. So he comes with a lot of starting experience and this ability to mold to whatever offensive system he is thrown into. And I think obviously that's a great thing for somebody that could potentially be a backup quarterback to Brock Purdy. He appeared in a career high 13 games, 12 starts last year, completed 262 of 417 passing attempts, almost 2,500 passing yards, 13 touchdowns between those two teams. So again, one of the new faces to the 49ers quarterback room. And then you've got Tanner Mordecai, who just wrapped up a 6-year college career. He was the Wisconsin Badgers starting quarterback. He's fourth in line there in that quarterback room. So that's kind of what that looks like this year.
Nice. Now, what will production look like when all 4 quarterbacks are out there on the field during training camp? I know that's a question for Kyle Shanahan to decide, but what has it looked like in the past and what could this year potentially look like?
Yeah, so typically what you see in training camp is obviously the named starter, which this year we know is Brock Purdy. He's healthy coming into training camp. He's going to have a lion's share of the reps. Whoever is named the backup between Josh Dobbs and Brandon Allen, whenever that's decided, will take reps with the 2s and the 3 will take reps with the 3s. And then I think you really do see like a drop off after 1 and 2 between that 3rd and 4th string quarterback. They're getting very, very limited reps, but they're still expected again to learn this offense inside and out and be ready no matter what happens later on in the year. And again, we always have to call back to Brock Purdy, who began his career with the 49ers as the 3rd string quarterback. He is now the starting quarterback of this franchise. So important for everyone in that quarterback room to stay ready. You never know what's going to happen. Obviously, we wish everyone a very, very healthy season. But you have to be prepared for anything because the football season is very long.
All right, faithful, that will do it for today. Look out for more 49ers roster breakdown episodes leading up to training camp on First and 10. Follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to be in the know on all of the latest official 49ers news. Also, turn on the notifications for any breaking news, move the chains updates, and thank you for tuning in.